Boys and girls, children of all ages, it's a great and powerful Zilla, and today I'm going to be talking about the HMS Nelson. First, a little bit of history about this ship before we get into it in the game. This ship was commissioned in 1927. It was laid down in 1922. In World War II, and when it broke out, it was involved in the Atlantic, where they found that this poor thing just wasn't fast enough to keep up with the Germans. It tried to chase down several German task forces around Norway. That dog wouldn't hunt. The ship just wasn't fast enough. So in 1941, the British assigned it to Force H in the Mediterranean to escort convoys to Malta. Okay, that was a big deal. And it served very well in that role. And in 1942, out of Gibraltar, she supported Operation Torch, the Allied invasion of North Africa. And in 1942, when the Italians surrendered, they surrendered on board this ship. And in 1944, she supported the Normandy invasions, and she hit a mine on June 18th, and she went to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. She was repaired. And in 1945, she was sent to the Indian Ocean, and she was involved in the Malaya operation. She was scrapped in 1949. So the big thing about this ship in World War II was she was a good, solid battleship, but she was slow. And it's no different in the game. So what do we got in the game? Well, what we got is a battleship. This ship and her sister ship, the Rodney, had all their turrets forward. They had three turrets with three guns each of 16 inches at Tier 7. That's pretty darn good. And they're all in front. So you might think, well, this is a very bow tanky battleship. Well, there's a couple of problems with that. Number one, if she receives a hit and knocks out a turret, all your turrets are up front. You got nothing else. You're done. And that's happened to me a couple of times in the game where Yamato or Musashi, or an Iowa has hit my turrets and knocked them out. Secondly, your armor plating is not all that. It's 25 millimeters, which is okay, 25 millimeters on the deck and the turret, 32 millimeters in the midships, and 25 on the stern. But your citadel sits right up underneath your guns, and any hit in here can citadel you. Now, this ship is not easy to citadel, I will grant you that, but the citadel sits above the waterline, and it goes practically from about 1/3 up from the stern all the way up to 1/3 from the bow. So this ship can be citadeled very easily. Okay, so you're bow tanking, you're angling all the time in this ship. Now, survivability is pretty good as far as that goes. I'll get into that in a little bit. The artillery is good. Anti-aircraft defense is decent, but not necessarily respectable. As a CV player, you want to attack the Nelson this way. Why? The bulk of her anti-aircraft fire is in her butt. That's where all her secondaries and most of her anti-aircraft fire is concentrated, in her rear. Okay? Up front, you don't have that much. So as a CV driver, you want to come bow on to the ship. You can also hit it broadside, but that's a risky business, as anyone knows, with the bombers. Rockets, you want to focus your rockets anywhere on the ship, but primarily here in this area. Start fires, knock out modules and things like that. Okay? Maneuverability is where she really fails. This ship is slow, very slow. It's slow to turn, it's slow to move. Okay? It does 24 knots. At Tier 7, you're getting into Tier 9 games. Almost everything can outrun you. It's not a fast ship. Nothing about this ship is fast. Okay? Concealment, forget about it. I mean, I hear people saying, well, you should get the concealment mod and whatnot for your battleship. Here's the thing. It's a one-trick pony. It works until it doesn't. Once you fire your guns, all bets are off. So getting concealment on this battleship, in my opinion, or any other battleship, is a one-trick pony. Yes, you're going to be able to get that first shot. After that, it's open season. It's on. Because once you fire, that gun bloom is open and everyone can see you. Okay? So putting concealment on this ship, to me, is a waste of a resource. Your detectability is 14 kilometers. You know, even with the concealment mod, what's that, take it down to 12? 13, 12? It's not going to work, folks. However, the good news is the artillery reloads fairly quickly. These guns will reload, what's it say here, in 30 seconds. Pretty decent. 16-inch guns. That's a lot of firepower coming out of a ship at Tier 7. Okay? So, why am I showing you the Nelson today? Well, you're going to see a lot of British battleships this weekend. And the reason you're going to see a lot of British battleships this weekend is because of this. Exeter's Last Stand Part 4. At the end of this, you get the Exeter, which is a ship with stories of its own. But, be that as it may, you have to do these steps. 7 achievements, pretty difficult to do. You know, and it has to be done in UK destroyers, cruisers, or battleships. Now, this one makes sense because you have to do it in random or ranked because you don't get achievements in co-op. These other ones can be done in co-op. 750,000 hit points of damage, not too difficult to do. Destroy 3 ships in one battle. Challenging, but it can be easily done in a... Well, no, I wouldn't say easily. But it can be done in co-op. Yes, it can be done in random as well, but you're better off trying it in co-op because they all come right at you. And 20 hits the Citadel again. That's something that can be done in co-op. This one right here is your big block, in my opinion, is getting those 7 achievements and knocking it out. Now, what do you get for that? Flags, 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 a ship. So at the end game, it's worth it. On the way there, yeah, the flags are nice, but yeah, considering everything you've gone through from part 1, 2, and 3 to get to this stage, it's redonkulous. Okay? And you should be getting, in my opinion, to jump through all these hoops, besides getting a tier 5 cruiser, okay, you should be getting more prizes than that. And they took away the air supply container, so any chance you had of getting the implacable is gone unless you want to open up your wallet and spend money on it. Okay? So you're going to see a lot of British ships. You're going to see a lot of Hoods, a lot of Duke Yorks, a lot of Edinburghs, a lot of Belfast. You're going to see a lot of British ships. I'm telling you. And you're going to see them all weekend long as people try to push and finish up that mission. You also have the Fly Strike Win, which doesn't necessarily have to be done in a British ship, but here's the thing. With the Nelson and Hood, it's easy to get this one done. 4 set on fire. You catch things on fire like you're shooting napalm. Okay, your high explosive is very good at that. So that's not a problem. And as you can see, I've knocked that out in one game. That's easy to do. But the other one, too, is the 15 torpedo hits set on fire and hits the Citadel. You notice I've almost got that done. I played 3 games. Okay, I recorded 1. I played 1 game in the Hood, 2 games in the Nelson. And look at this. I'm almost done. I think I've got 11. No, 12. 12 out of 15. These ships, the Hood and Nelson, along with the other ones, will catch ships on fire like it's nobody's business. Okay? And while they're doing so, they're knocking out modules like crazy. Now I'm almost at 30, 27 out of 50. And that's just 3 games, guys. Okay? So the Nelson and Hood are easy to get these things done. Now, what if you don't have the Nelson? What if you don't have the Hood? Well, you're SOL. But it's not hard to get these ships as time goes on. First of all, they come in crates. Whenever they have crates, super containers, whatnot, you have a chance of getting this ship. It's pretty common. You can buy it from the premium shop. They also had it for coal at one time. Free XP. You can get it a number of different ways. It's not something you get in the game. I have not seen, or I can't remember, if there was a mission to get this ship. I know I got it out of a crate. I got it out of a box. I didn't go buy it. It came out of a crate. So you're, like I say, your chances may vary, but you can get this ship. It's not hard to get, and it's a good battleship. It's not something that you want to. For me, it's not something I would go spend money on. Okay, your mileage may vary. A lot of guys like the Duke of York. Some people like the Hood. You know, like I said, it just depends on your style. I had both the Hood and the Nelson, pardon me. And my problem with the Hood is it's kind of weak with its main armament, and it's very long. So you're not going to get very good angles on the Hood. Whereas with the Nelson, you're always angled. You're always bow on. You can point the guns right about here and right about here, and when you're facing directly forward, you only get these two turrets firing. Okay, so you're going to be at a slight angle when you fire anyway. So it's preset, kind of the way the ship plays, that you're going to be angling your armor anyway. The other ship you can get this done on is the Warspite. The Warspite is an old World War I type battleship. It's very famous in World War II. Those missions could be done on the Warspite as well. But Warspite is slow, and Warspite is slow firing. So you're better off with something like the Nelson and getting it done that way. All right? You're not going to get the fire missions done on any British cruiser except the Belfast. Period. It's just not going to happen. Okay? Well, I take that back. If you happen to have the Exeter, yes, you can get it done on the Exeter too. But those ships fire only AP. They don't fire any HE at all. All right? And you might get it done on the destroyers, but they don't do a lot of fire damage. All right? So that's the HMS Nelson. Let's take her up into battle and see what we can do. Again, good luck this weekend, guys. If you're on that last part of the Exeter quest, God bless you. More power to you. Good on you, mate. Until we get into battle, I'll talk to you then. Bye. Okay, got into a random battle, and you can see the number of British ships that are on both sides. You're going to come across this all weekend, guys. And I forgot to mention, you can also do this on a Monarch. You can do it on the Queen Elizabeth. Anything tier 6 to tier 8 battleship wise can be done. Again, tier 6 to tier 8 cruisers, tier 6 to tier 8 destroyers for the British only, not the Commonwealth, none of that. It's got to be the British. Okay? So we start out, and as you can see, the ship is in no hurry to get anywhere fast. It does, like I said, 24 knots. The poor thing is just... if you're looking to rush in and do something, you're not going to rush in and do anything. Okay? But at the beginning of this match, you can see we've got a couple of pink players. That happens. It is the weekend. And if you look at my team, right now, they're not quite sure where to go. Everybody is kind of looking at everybody else and trying to decide which way to go. I'm bending it over to the east. Why? Because there's a couple of islands to block torpedoes. And that's just happened to be, the direction in which I was spawned. So I'm heading that way. And it appears that the enemy team, red team, is also heading that way. So I've got into kind of a target-rich environment, if you will. Okay? So, anyway, we're sailing along. It takes a while to get there. And it's just the way it is.
All
Okay.
stations requesting fire on the designated target.
Now, as a battleship driver, I always start out with HE loaded. Why? Odds are the first thing we're going to see are destroyers and cruisers. And British high explosive is very, very good at taking on destroyers and cruisers. It does a lot of damage in there. I did not lead the target properly and they fell behind him. The armor piercing is good up close. I'd say somewhere between 12 kilometers in would be good for the armor piercing. And that against battleships. But the problem with the armor piercing in the British is it arms very quickly. It does not penetrate very far before it arms. So your high explosive is your best bet all around. It's kind of your generic round that you use. And there I led properly and again, right away, start a fire. So there's a destroyer. It's an Icarus. Very dangerous. Very dangerous for a battleship. And everybody's running away. And I'm like, we've got the strength here. Stop running. We're in strength, just like they are. And you can see they're focused over there on the west side. There's 3 enemy ships over there. So I'm taking my shots downrange and, trying to start fires, just do some general damage. Maybe get lucky with an achievement. And watching for that destroyer. He's there. I know he's there. Kind of like, what's under the bed, right? Omaha. This Omaha, you see a bunch of players doing the right thing. The Omaha's bending in, bending out, weaving a little bit back and forth, just messing up the range a little bit. I overshoot, I undershoot. He's speeding up, he's slowing down. So even at this tier, you see players doing things that normally you wouldn't see until you get to a higher tier, tier 9, tier 10. They're reacting that way. Here this guy busts around the corner. Big mistake. Big mistake. I happen to have high armor piercing loaded. He came around that corner and oops. Yeah, bad idea. But I would have done the same thing. I mean, what else is he going to do? He's got to get out there. Now he's starting to back up. He's stuck. We've all been there. I feel for him. But he poked his head into a hornet's nest. That happens to be a Warspite. Warspite's a tough ship, but no ship is invincible. Remember, if it floats, it sinks. Right? So, it's just a matter of time for that Warspite because he's too slow. He's not maneuverable. He's not going to back up in time. It's just not going to happen. And there's that destroyer. There he is. Little bugger. Freaking spastic little gremlin is what he is. Okay? And that guy, I had the Icarus. I still do. I know what it's capable of doing. I know what his torps can do. I know what he has to do. And I know about his gimpy smokescreen. So, knowledge is power, right? So I know what that Icarus has to do. He's got to close with me. If he wants to get torpedoes into this big fat battleship, he's going to have to close the distance. And if he does that, that makes him vulnerable to my high explosive and my secondaries. I have secondary spec'd this to a point with went as far as advanced fire training on this ship. And I'm probably not going to go manuals. I'm probably going to, the next 3 points I have, I'm going to put into superintendent. And the reason for that, as you'll see as this game goes on, is that this ship is unique in that it's got a super heal. Now you get a super heal on the Lion and the Conqueror at tier 9 and 10. But this ship at tier 7 has a super heal. And what that is when you hit that heal, okay, it heals a lot more of the damage than it normally would on a regular ship. So you can take a lot of damage and you can heal most of it back. That's why when you're fighting British battleships like the Nelson or the Lion or the Conqueror, you fire armor piercing, because they can't heal all that back. They can only heal a certain percentage of that back. But any kind of high explosive damage, torpedo damage, flooding damage, whatnot, this ship will heal right back all the way because of that super heal. But you'll also notice something, if you look at the bottom of the screen about the Nelson, I don't have any hydro, I don't have any spotter planes, I don't have any of that. British battleships, including the Conqueror, all you get is repair and heal. That's it. You don't get anything extra. No fighters, no spotter plane, none of that. Okay? So it's bare bone basic, but it's all about firepower and survivability with the British battleships. Okay? So I'm watching these characters here, and I'm fairly certain that the enemy team doesn't quite know what to do. I see some ships going west. I see some ships going east. They're not really sure or committed to pushing any one way or the other. It appears that way. And here they've set a fire.
The ship is on fire.
And I'm just biding my time, taking my shots. Yeah, it's kind of boring, you know. It takes a while for the Nelson to get up in it, but look at where I am on the mini-map. I'm here. That's where I'm at.
Give them a hard time.
That's where I'm fighting. There is no question of turning around and going back up north or any of that. Once you're stuck in, you're stuck in. You're too slow. And if I turn broadside, I'm going to die.
All stations,
You know.
reporting the
So,
position of a strategic target.
we fight it out. And, you know, we roll our dice, we take our chances. So, I'm going to continue to shoot at this battleship, New York. And he's going to start to wander into my secondary range. And then, for whatever reason, my secondary crews must have gotten into the grog. Because right next to that, New York, is the Icarus. And it takes them a while to figure out, hey, maybe we should shoot at the Icarus instead of the New York. But, you know, you don't control that. So, again, they're setting fires.
The ship is on fire.
Maybe I'll get fireproof. You know? Maybe I'll get, you know, what do they call it? Dreadnought out of it. Who knows? You know, you're trying to get achievements done, win or lose. That's the objective here. And it also demonstrates how, and when this fire's done, I'll show you, how the ship can heal back. It's a super heal. It's almost unfair. It really is. And I can't tell you how many times I've faced these ships, and I thought I had them, and nope. Next thing you know, they bust around the other end of the island, and they're at almost full health. And you're like, what the heck just happened here? So the Icarus has got himself in a bit of a pickle. He's got himself a little bit too close. And I'm firing high explosive, which is fine. That just happens to be what's in my gun tube. I'm not going to switch it out. British armor-piercing arms very quickly. So on lightly armored targets like cruisers and destroyers, you're not going to get a whole lot of over-penetration.
Torpedoes, dead ahead.
You're not going to do full damage, but you're not going to get a whole lot of over-pens. So there's a torp.
Torpedoes.
I
to
knew
rail
they were
fronts.
coming.
We're taking on water quickly.
My heel has a little bit to go, but they changed the flooding mechanics, so I'm not too terribly worried about it. And 20 seconds on my super heel. So my repair is at 12, 11, 10, and my super heel is on now 10 seconds. So I'm going to recover from this fairly quickly. I know, and any other enemy team at this point, they should be shooting like crazy. And there's one achievement. He got too close to my secondaries. And look, right back. At that point, the whole enemy team should have been shooting at my Nelson. Because you got to take him down before that heel comes off cooldown. Because if you don't, look at where I'm at now. Half health again. They almost had me dead. They almost had me. Oh well. Anyway, we're closing in on their cap. And again, this is just rinse and repeat. You know, every 30 seconds, well, in my case, 27 seconds. Every 20-something seconds, you shoot. And we're defending our cap up there with a couple of ships. All you got to do is keep them resetting. The Scharnhorst here thought he was going to make a valiant stand, but then he thought better of it, which was wise, and he egressed. He took off. He was like, screw you guys. If you're not going to help me defend, I'm not going to sit here and die by myself. When you're up against a force like this, with all the ships, green ships you see on the minimap, closing in on the cap, and you're by yourself, stand and fight. If you run away, you're just going to die tired. I've been there, you've been there, we've all been there. You try and get away, and it's just not happening. This Gneisenau has way too much going against him right now. And God bless him. He tried, but you know, what he's trying to do is get out of range, get out of the line of fire, so all this fire, and try and come back and start his own defense. It's not going to work. He's got too many fires, too much firepower coming down on him, too many ships shooting at him. You look at it, and it's just too much. So he's doing his best, but he's not going to make it. And again, I started another fire right there. So, I don't know, what are you going to do? I much prefer being on this end of it than his end of it. But I've been on both, so... And I think we've all been there, and we can empathize with this guy. He is trying to defend the cap, but he was left all alone. And everybody else took off up north, and they're accomplishing absolutely nothing up there, because our ships up north are doing a fantastic job of keeping that cap reset. So, closing in. Am I going to get the kill? Maybe, maybe not. He's got barely any health left. And he's gone. Somebody else got him. Okay, so I move into the cap. And we're at 1 minute 11. And at this point, my team's like, don't cap, kill all. Some are saying, wait a minute. Wait a minute. So, here's the deal. We got less than a minute to cap this out. By the time my ship gets up there, it'll be 5 minutes. And other ships are looking at it and saying, wait just a minute. So my team wisely thinks, let's just cap it. The enemy team is out of position. They're not really going to do anything worthwhile up there. They can't out-cap us. They can't get back to defend their cap. So they're kind of screwed. So it's best to just let it cap out, which is what we do. And you got less than 20 seconds left. So the don't cap, kill all, nah, win. Winning does a lot more than don't cap, kill all. So, here we have my Nelson. I managed 1 achievement in this battle. Actually, I managed 2 at the end of the day. And we won. So that's how the Nelson works, guys. Kind of vanilla. Kind of boring, if you will. But I did get fireproof, and I did get close quarters expert out of it. And you can too. So until next time, you guys be good to each other and have a great, great day.